I recently purchased the Fake Out Thrummed Mittens. If you don't know what thrummed mittens are, they are mittens that are knit with strands of roving inside it that felts as you use them, and they get super, super warm. They're really great for kids, for cold climates, and really clear designs. Cynthia Spencer has these Faked Out Thrummed Mittens that I was really excited to try. She had a kit, so I went ahead and ordered it. And the reason it's a fake out is because you've got your main yarn that you use, and then like I said, you basically do color work almost with the roving usually, so you see how it catches it to make these pretty little patterns. But instead of roving, what she has is she has a single ply, super bulky merino. Actually, there might be a thread around it. No, I think it's just a single ply. Anyway, so you can see it's super bulky, super squishy. So it behaves more like yarn. It's not going to draft apart like a roving or a pencil roving would do. So for people who are not used to working with roving or haven't worked with roving before, this is a really great alternative. And so I ordered the kit, and the kit is a Malabrigo Rios. So this color is Archangel. It's this nice, it's like a pinkish, orangish, purplish. It's very much on the like orange side of these colors. And then from Virtuous Yarn Company, I have Pragmatic, which is a beautiful, beautiful purple, which I'm really excited about. Now here's the challenge. We are still in transition. We moved for a new job for my husband back at the end of October. Well, he moved. Kids and I were working on selling our house. So we sold our house. We are currently living with family as we figure everything out in this new location, because we closed on our house the day before Thanksgiving. Trying to buy a new house around the holidays does not happen. So I don't have my ball winder and I don't have my Swift here. So what we're going to do is we are going to hand wind this beautiful Pragmatic single ply merino that I'm going to use for the essentially roving in this Fake Out Thrummed pattern. So we're going to get started with that, and then we'll go over what I need to actually knit these mittens. So I pulled the pattern out of the sleeve. I'm not going to show off like a whole bunch of the pattern. If you're interested in checking out the pattern, definitely buy it. But what I will show you is it's a full booklet. It's got a color work chart, but then it's also got a grid of written instructions all the way back, and then the finishing instructions. And what I like about what Cynthia does is she's not just a chart designer, she's not just a written instruction designer. She does her best to give you both versions in every pattern she makes. She makes her patterns really straightforward and easy to follow. I've been knitting for longer than I realize at this point. So I would call myself a fairly advanced knitter. So it's not necessarily like something I wouldn't need them written out step by step. I'm good with the charts and everything, but it's kind of nice to have it there in case I'm in a place where reading the chart is an issue or whatever. So this is a really great pattern. Now the only downside to doing this is this is a really heavy, nice cardstock, which I love. By the way, it's a really durable pattern. I can't put it in my pattern pockets because the pattern pockets fold it in half, and I don't want to fold the cardstock in half. It creases really badly, and I feel like it's just going to damage the pattern. So if I was going to take this pattern with me and put it in my pattern pocket, I would probably photocopy the instructions to put in my pattern pocket that I could mark up and do whatever, so that I could fold it without worrying about damaging this. So that's really the only other thing. Now I will say for the sizing, she tells you that they're sized by the weight of the yarn. So when she makes her yarn recommendations, use smaller or thinner yarn to make smaller mittens, use thicker yarn to make bigger mittens. These are sized by the yarn to make, what does it say? What are we using? We are using Malabrigo Rios worsted. Okay, so we're using a worsted weight yarn, which is a medium adult hand. So if you have very large hands, you might want to go with a slightly heavier weight than a worsted, a heavy worsted, something like that. And if you're doing a kid or an adult small, like a DK weight would work for that. So that's how she recommends sizing it. So all the instructions are going to be exactly the same. You size it by the yarn. And again, then that means your needle size for this pattern is based on the weight of the yarn. It's not based on the pattern specifically. So I'm excited to dive in. Obviously, the first thing is to cast on. So we will dig out some needles and get started on that. So I'm going to do some of this in a time lapse, but I also want to explain to you what I'm doing. So first of all, usually yarn like this, a single ply, very bulky yarn, there we go, is pretty easy to rip. Don't tell Cynthia. And so she used it to tie her sections on the skein. So I just kind of ripped the ties because I never know where my scissors are, especially when I'm living in someone else's house. So this end is going to have a giant knot on it. So what I've done is I found the section where she tied the ends of the actual yarn. And what I do is I put it up on my knee like this. I don't know if you can see. So my knee kind of helps keep it in shape while I start to wind a ball. And I am just going to wind a ball with this. It's not going to be a pretty ball. But the knee, because you could put it over the back of a chair, but then I have to stand and I lean over funny. You could have someone help you, but my children get bored really fast with this and then they start whining, and I don't feel like dealing with that today on a Saturday. So I'm just gonna wind it like this by hand. Now the other thing you could do is I have actually knit straight from the skein before. So if you wanted to knit straight from the skein, what I've done is you put it over your shoulder like this and you would just knit. Anyway, so if I was gonna knit straight from this, I would put it over my shoulder, because then as I knit, I could just, you know, pull it around like that. Well, I got it all tangled because I had to set it down and go deal with something and then come back. So it's all tangled now, but that's what I would do. So I'm not gonna make you watch me in real time wind this ball. I'll do a little bit of a time lapse and then we'll come back when I'm done. I'm not gonna make you watch for this one. We'll come back when I'm ready to cast on, because that is a lot of silly video for you to have to watch. Okay, so I have my fake roving and I have my primary yarn. And before I get started, I'm going to put everything into one of my project bags. Now this is a medium size bag. I fit entire sweaters in here, so I have no doubt that mittens would fit. Normally, I would actually put mittens just in one of my small bags, but mittens are usually worsted weight or fingering weight, and they'll fit in here fine if you're just doing straight mittens, right? Like that's not an issue. But when we've got this big thing where it's full of air, you can see it's not a great fit. Like I could wedge it in here, but there's not a lot of space for anything else. So mittens usually would go in a small bag, but in this very specific instance, we're gonna go with a medium. And the reason I like this is because, let's see if you can see it. So I will put one ball of yarn over here on this side. I'll grab the end and I'm gonna snap it closed so that the yarn will feed out right here. And then we'll grab this ball of yarn and we'll put it in this end. And then again, we will snap it closed so that the yarn will feed out over here. And so the nice thing about this is now I can do color work or double strand projects without the yarn getting tangled. It helps keep it separate. It works as a nice little yarn guide. But if you ever need to take the yarn out or switch bags or put it in something else, you're not stuck with it running through a grommet and having to cut your thread. So now we've got these all ready to go. So then the next step is our needles. So I'm using a worsted weight. It says use the size recommended on the ball band of the thinner yarn. So that's my Malabrigo Rios, and this says a US 7 or 9. Now I tend to knit really tight. I can't help it. So I'm gonna go with an 8. So grab, these are my Addi, are these Addi Turbos? No, just Addi Clicks. So they're the interchangeable Addi needles. but I think I'm gonna start with double points. I don't remember if this is my interchangeables or my double points. So this is one of the needle holders that I created. Nope, these are all interchangeable. So you can see, I have all of my interchangeable knit picks in here, all the cables, some gauge checkers and measurers, all kinds of stuff. I also had a case with double points in it, but I think I put them somewhere else for the move. So we're gonna go find our double points. Okay, so we found my size 8 double point needles. I only found 4 of them. I usually like to work with 5. I think it just makes a nicer fabric. There's less gaps at the interchange between needles, but I couldn't find the 5th one. Don't know where that went. And unfortunately, my size 7 double points are in a different project right now, so I can't use my size 7s for this. Oh, what do I have? No, these are 6s. So that's the thing. And so my size 7s are in a different project, and I don't have a size 9 in double points. I have size 00 all the way to size 8 in double points. I don't have a size 9, but then I have 10.5s and 11s, so I don't have 9 or 10. I don't know why. I guess I never do projects in that weight. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to take our double points, and we are going to start casting on with the main color, that thinner yarn. And so also double points make the math easier because you just divide in half and then divide in half again, but now I need to divide by 3, and that's obnoxious. So I'm gonna figure out how to divide this cast on by 3 to get it across all the needles evenly, and then I'm gonna start working on my cuffs. You can use whatever ribbing you prefer for cuffs. I actually usually like 1 by 1, but I'm going to follow Cynthia's pattern on this. So we are going to get started with casting on. Now I used a backward loop cast on, which is like probably the worst possible choice. And I recognize that, but I hate long tail cast on because I never guess it right. I could have done a knitted cast on, but I didn't think about it until I started. And honestly, the backwards loop is fine. I just try to keep I try to keep the loops pretty loose when I do it first, and then I try to keep my first row of stitches pretty loose. And you're gonna have to hold on because I need to sneeze. Ooh. Anyway, and so what I do is I will knit my first round. I will actually knit it flat because it's really easy to twist your stitch when you're joining in the round directly from a cast on, regardless of what kind of cast on you use. So this gives me like a very clear bottom edge to work with. So when I get to the end of this and I join them in the round, it's very easy to check and see if it's all facing the same direction or if I have a twist in here. Now, I will also say that within the first round, if you get a twist, it's actually pretty easy to fix. It's not a huge deal, but just try and avoid it anyway. So I'm gonna finish knitting my first round, and then we'll join it in the round, and we will keep on going in our ribbing pattern. Okay, so I've knit that first row. So you can see I've got like a nice little edge. So this makes it easier when I go to join it in the round now. So I'm able to turn it and make sure that everyone is facing in the same direction. Slide this needle down and make sure that that side is facing down for everybody. And now we can keep going in the round. So that is my getting started for the Faked Out Thrummed Mittens. If you want to check it out, go to Really Clear Designs. And if you go to her website, stitchyourartout.com, you can actually order the kit. So that's what I did. The kit came with the pattern and the yarn selections already made. It looks like it's going to be a super fun project. It is January 11th already, so my goal is to get them knit before it's too warm to wear them. So I will come back and give you an update on how these are going in a few days so we can see how that fake thrumming works and how it looks and how it feels as I'm knitting this.